I don't know, honestly. I do not know. So, game 1, oh, I'm so excited. And in the top left, as our teal Protoss, we're going to have Druids Patjuh. I'm going to pronounce it like that, I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. And in the bottom right, the Zerg we all know. The Dutch hero, the blue Zerg, LiquidRet.
Now, Akelon Waste, I don't know what your thoughts are about this map, Dom, but I really quite like it. It's large enough that you can get some nice macro-orientated play, but because it's only a 2 spawn position map, it's really quite cool in terms of getting some aggressive styles early on, and that, I personally think, makes games a lot more interesting because it's harder to predict what can happen. There's a bit of dead space around the main and also coming into the natural. And therefore, drops, airplay are all viable things, especially for Patjuh, because he could go for Oracles, Phoenix, quite happily. Rep, I know that his teammate Snood has a really nice build on this map where if a Protoss player Gateway expands, he gets down 11, 12 roaches and just pushes across to try and punish the Nexus. So this is a really cool map for lots of different strategies.
Yeah, it's a very wide open map. You can see the game going long, you can see it going short. And, I mean, it has dead space on one side, but the other side's closed off, so there is the potential to harass, but it isn't like a map where you definitely know that they are going to go for mutas or they're going to go really aggressive with drops.
Now, in terms of the scouting, it's quite an early scout, actually, out of the Druids player, just coming over nice and early on. Does get scouted by the Overlord, though, and this is just to get a good read. We'll see that the hatchery is down, and it was actually a hatchery first from Rep, which is not something that you often see, but going to be able to get away with it just due to no Forge being there, and Patjuh should be able to just chuck down a Nexus first with no real concern.
Yeah, that pylon on the high ground meant no... Well, he kind of just waited until he got the scout off before he went for anything, because he threw down the pylon on the low ground as well. He's going to Nexus first, as he should.
Oh, a nice little bit of mind games here, actually. Chopping a pylon behind the hatchery. Maybe just trying to freak Red out a bit, and it's indeed working, pulling an additional 3 drones down. And this is the sort of thing which every Zerg player, if you go for a hatchery first against a Protoss player, you panic about.
Yeah, and that's just brilliant mind games. I mean... The Zerg going with the hat first, really greedy play. He wants to punish him a little bit by forcing that drone pull. Because if Patjuh had a Forge, Ret would be in serious trouble if he let that pylon go up.
So this is all looking good at the moment. In terms of the scouting information, Ret's Overlord is now coming and we'll see the Nexus timing, sees obviously the Gateway and Forge timing, knows that it'll be a Nexus first, and therefore should try and rush out his 3rd base relatively quickly. Ideally, I'd like to see it in about the next 20 seconds, so somewhere between 4 minutes and 4 minutes 10 is ideal. Those 2 Zerglings, all you need in order to push back any drones or any potential danger. But interestingly, Patjuh checking and pylon blocking the 3rd base behind the rocks, which is very unusual because 9 out of 10 Zergs will always expand to the north position because it's easier to hold.
Yeah, especially with those rocks there and the narrow choke with the collapsibles. It's all Zerg, 9 times out of 10 they will always take that top base. So, yeah, he cancels the pylon, which is a good move. I was wondering if he let it go up, was he just going to use it for warpins maybe? Not sure, but...
Well, you can do that, because it can catch a Zerg player really off guard getting warpins from there, because they don't tend to check that far down just due to the long rush distance.
And then suddenly you have 4 Zealots running into your natural, and you're like, oh god damn it, I've lost a queen.
Yeah, and losing a queen, of course, is always really bad times, but the one thing that I'm keeping an eye out for is when this Mothership core gets started, because really, most players tend to get it once either their main is saturated, or they wait until their natural is saturated, and it depends all on how they want to go for it. But currently, a lot of gas getting built up here for the Druids player, not really being spent on anything. Probably just going to get a sentry out straight after the Zealot is the most likely course of action.
Yeah, I would suspect so as well. I mean, first 50 goes on the warp gate, and... No, not spending that gas yet, so we're still not going to find out what he's going to go for. Double gassing on the natural, so wow, he's really looking to tech up.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it could even be a Stargate at this point. There's so much gas banked up. There comes the sentry now, but still enough nearly instantly to chuck down a Stargate. And of course, Oracle play is really solid on this map, so wouldn't be a bad strategy in the slightest. And with 4 gas so early on, you can do it. And indeed, there we see the Stargate getting thrown down at the natural of Patjuh, and things really going quite predictably.
Yeah. As you would expect, I mean, you need to get that first sentry just for defense, because you can't just tech up behind a Zealot. That's far too greedy, and you never know what your opponent's going to be throwing at you. So yeah, first real tech choice is going to be the Stargate, and What do you think he's going to go for first? Oracle, Phoenix, or Void Ray?
Well, the interesting thing is Red hasn't actually scouted the Stargate. Even though his Overlord is there, it was just out of range to get the scout off. So that still leaves some viability to go for an Oracle first. It's really preference though. Oracle's a higher risk, but potentially higher reward. But against a pro like Red, I'm thinking that Phoenix are probably a safer option. But no, it's going to be a Void Ray.
Wow, and this is quite a defensive move. Void Ray is of course good to hold against roach pressure that may be coming.
No, I'm just thinking... Sorry, do continue.
No, I was just thinking, because they're quite slow, you can... I mean, they can be used for attack, but they're kind of lacking finesse in a way. They're more of a brute force kind of, I'm going to poke and do damage here unit, rather than Phoenixes where you come in and try and get a scout off, maybe pick off 1 or 2 drones and then leave.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, and the only thing that's made me think that these Void Rays are coming out is purely based on the fact that Snoot so often goes for this roach aggression against Protoss on this map, and maybe Patjuh has seen some of his games. I know I've uploaded a good few of them on my YouTube, and therefore just thinking, well, maybe Red's learned that build, Snoot's successful with it, maybe he's going to go for a similar strategy. And Void Rays are one of the best ways to defend against it. But what I'm loving here from Red is the Hydra Den. That's going to allow him to absolutely wreck the Stargate choice out of Patjuh early on, because Hydras just crush Gateway and Stargate units.
Yeah, they really do. And I mean, Zealot Void Ray is really good for Zergling Roach. Just going to get absolutely crushed. But with this tech up to Hydras, and they're going to be out in time.
Yeah,
quite comfortably for any kind of poking or prodding that comes. And
now the Void Rays have managed to... Yeah, the Void Rays is killing off a couple of Overlords actually, which are going to be irritating to Rep, but he's got a good little supply advantage there, and he should actually start getting quite a few more Overlords out, especially if he decides to really start pumping heavily into an aggressive bit of play. And judging by the muscular augments, I'm predicting he's going to be pushing quite heavily. Yeah,
he will. Yeah. Muscular augments or groove spines come... Which do you prefer to come first? Personally, I think muscular augments is better, because even though you're lacking the range, you've got the maneuverability that you can get out of any situations that you get into trouble with.
I think it depends what you want to do. If there's an Oracle opening from Patjuh, I'd say all the way groove spines. It helps you defend. It's a more defensive upgrade for those Hydras. But if you're wanting to put across, you've got to get muscular augments just for the speed and the ability to retreat if needed. Oh, and a lot of Speedlings manage to sneak their way into the natural base of Patjuh here. A lot of probes are going to go down.
Yeah, and looking at it, I mean, 9 probes have been killed this game. Lings have already done their job though, trying to get, and they're going to get a scout off in the main. Going to see everything that's going down, going to see Robotech coming.
And even though the damage wasn't huge, as you said, 10 workers in total, that scout off is critical, and now all of the units getting pulled back into the main base, allowing these Hydras to just waltz in to the third.
Yeah, losing 1 Hydra, but he's going to take out that cannon, and just poking a little bit. He's got his muscular augment, so he's saying, well, I'm going to poke, and the only thing you can chase me really with is the Stalkers, and those can't fight me in a head-on fight.
Yeah, the Hydras, they've got to be a little bit cautious, because obviously the tech up is going down, and that's why getting the Ling Scout off was so important, because he knows that the robotics facility had only just finished, and therefore has no concern about there being Colossus, and he can just keep moving in and dealing a lot of damage, and that's what he's doing. He's just going to poke into the third, into the natural, and try and do as much as he can.
Red taking his 4th and 5th base rather quickly, so he's thinking it's Skytoss, especially when he went up and saw that cyber core, researching the weapons upgrades for the air units. So I mean, he's thinking that it's going to go long game, and Skytoss is a big problem right now for Zerg, so yeah, just doing the mass expand thing, saying, if you're going to turtle, I'm just going to take the map and throw waves of units at you.
Now, against the sort of Skytoss army, the one thing I would personally really like to see out of Red is some Swarm Hosts, and he does have the Infestation Pit down, and the reason Swarm Host would be such a good choice here is because Skytoss is really bad until you get a huge number of Tempest out in dealing with them. There's no splash damage, so Locust can just send wave after wave, and Void Rays don't deal with them effectively, and when you know your opponent's going so heavily there, Swarm Host Hydra is just going to be really a force to reckon with, but as we see, Viper's actually coming out at the moment, so maybe going to go for some sweet abduct play.
Yeah, I think he is just going to look to abduct the Colossus rather than put the pressure on, but yeah, you're completely right. Swarm Host, the only counter is... Ooh, Ling's going to get in past the force field, and I mean, Hydra's on Void Rays. It should not end well.
This will not end well at the moment for Patjuh. He does have a lot of Void Rays though, that's the one plus thing that he's got going for him, but in terms of how cost effective this is, it's not going to be. He's cleaned out a couple of the Hydra lists, but now with Zergling streaming in behind this, we will just push straight in. We're gonna just see Ret do like huge amount of damage here. The single Colossus doesn't really have enough DPS to effectively knock down the Hydralisk in time, and we're just seeing that all of the Stalkers getting taken out. So many probes dying as well to the Zerglings. This is not looking good for the Druids player.
No, it really isn't, and I mean, we're looking at 17 probes killed now. Hydra's doing so much damage. The only bonus Patjuh can take from that matchup, that engagement, was I still have that one Colossus. He's really going to need it now, especially as Ret is looking to pile on more pressure with the Vipers, with more Hydras coming out.
The concerning thing for that Colossus, though, is that the 2-2 upgrades are nearly done as well for Reb, whereas +2 weapons is only just about to finish for Patjuh.
That's +1. That's only +1. He
I know it is. It is.
He went for air upgrades and shields. He's only just got +1. He's in real trouble here.
Yeah, this is a real. Well, it's a massive upgrade disadvantage for the Protoss player at the moment. Reddy's got the Vipers there as well, so he can abduct the Colossi really simply. And there we go, two perfect abductions, and the Voidway's getting forward, and there we go. GG, well played.
GG, well played, indeed.